Delegation of 200 entrepreneurs and businessmen to the United Arab Emirates are there on Sunday from Israel to participate in GITEX, the Gulf Information Technology Exhibition, an annual electronics and trade show and conference. It will host pavilions from Israel, Bahrain, Brazil, France, Hong Kong, Japan, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and the U.S., as well as a conference including more than 350 speakers. Ruth Wasserman-Lande, a columnist with Ma'ariv newspaper, is there and joins us live from Dubai. Ruth, thanks for joining our show today. Tell us about this current stage of the honeymoon between the UAE and Israel. It's booming, it seems. Looking behind you, we can see some action in the pavilions even.
You know, the conference itself is just beginning today. In fact, the big events are probably going to start tomorrow and this evening. But there is a huge delegation from Israel, a huge presence from Israel. And the beautiful thing about this is that nobody is hiding Israel. Nobody is hiding the Israelis. Israeli presence is so felt here on the ground. It's something that people are really putting on the table. We are no longer the mistress. In fact, we are beginning, as you say, the honeymoon, which is getting to know one another. It'll take a little bit more time, and yet it is happening. And I must say, it is very, very exciting.
Tell us, to put this into context, yes, there's the Manama dialogue happening right now in Bahrain, and we'll get to what we hear from there in a minute. But it's also been quite a month with the assassination in Tehran and other events that have put Israelis on the target as well for Iran and for other organizations such as Hezbollah, etc. How safe is it for Israelis to be in these new territories nowadays?
First of all, not as an official spokesperson, but there is a travel warning by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Israel. There is a concern. It's a general concern. I must say, though, as somebody who's on the ground here, who's walking the streets, who is present in the conference, it feels extraordinarily safe. In fact, everyone, Emiratis and foreigners, tell me that this place is one of the safest, if not the most safe place on the globe. It is very much televised wherever one is. There are cameras everywhere. And it so happens that there is absolutely very little crime. To do something on the ground in the UAE would mean to really begin a front vis-a-vis the UAE, not to mention Israel, if it is against Israelis. And that would be really a casus belli, if you wish, a kind of a declaration of war. I'm not sure that this will happen very fast, and that the response of the Iranians will not take time.
Now, to get an insight from you about what we're hearing coming out from Manama, from the dialogue there. We just heard Prince Turki of Saudi Arabia saying that he's speaking on his behalf, but slamming Israel, saying that a return to the 2002 Arab League initiative is mandatory, that the Abraham Accords perhaps seem rosy, but are not here to replace anything more substantial, which would mean Israel leaving the West Bank, the settlements, and acknowledging a Palestinian state. How do you see that that speech that he made there?
First of all, I think that there is the great wish amidst the Arab leaders, including the Gulf leaders, to see a development vis-a-vis the Israeli-Palestinian arena. I think in terms of regional stability, this is something that even visionary leaders with huge courage, such as the leaders of the UAE, wish for it to happen, for regional stability, for the prosperity of the Israelis and the Palestinians, and for the well-being of all the countries in the region, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Egypt, Jordan, the UAE, and others. There is a wish here. It hasn't been taken off the table. However, there is a huge, real, ripening wish to forward normalization with Israel. This is under the surface, it bubbles over the surface often, and yet it needs to be managed. It needs to be managed in terms of public opinion, in terms of, I would say, ripening public opinion to the point where it is ready to accept. Don't forget that even here in the UAE, Israel was an, an enemy state, something that was not accepted over the table, even though there were negotiations, there were talks, there was cooperation for years. This is something that is new. And as such, it needs to be, I would say, put on a very small kind of a flame, and we as Israelis need to be ready to let it steam a little bit, let it warm a little bit, give it time. We're not very good at it in terms of patience, but that's the Middle East paste. The
Okay.
paste, which is distinguished like a tasting, a degustation of what is coming. And I feel on the ground from people here that it is coming with countries like Saudi Arabia as well.
Okay. Ruth Wasserman Lande, thank you very much for joining us today from Dubai.
Thank you.